The Colossal is truly massive. A castle of such immense proportions that entire cities, forests, mountains, and even oceans are contained within its walls. You are a lone traveler exploring these strange lands. In the distance, you might catch a glimpse of a window or gargantuan staircase high above you that leads who knows where, or one of the deadly walking castles known as rooks that stalks the land. If you are lucky and the clouds part, you should be able to see the rafters and maybe even a few gargoyles as they search for prey down below. This is the world of Colossal, and if that doesn't intrigue you at least a little, I don't know what will. Full disclosure before I get into this review, Nich Angell, the creator of this game, was kind enough to send me the books to make this review. However, I'm not being paid in any way to share my thoughts. With that out of the way, let's take a look at Colossal. Colossal is a solo journaling RPG that is very different from anything that I had played before. The most noticeable difference off the start? There are no dice here at all. Instead, everything from story prompts to combat is guided using a set of playing cards. You can use any regular set, or you can buy the official deck that features artwork to match the game. Beyond that difference, the game is also much more rules-light than anything I've played before. The rulebook comes in at only about 60 pages, and a lot of that is just information about the world. This is a game you can easily pick up for the first time, read the rules, create a character, and get playing in one evening. The mechanical side of things is very simple. In general, I'd say Colossal takes an almost narrative first, mechanics third approach. To show off what I mean, I'll run through some example play so you can see the game in action. First off, you'll make a character, which only takes a few minutes. For this, I'll use the Armed class, who begin the game with a great rook arm attached to them. The core rules has 4 classes to start with, however, you are not locked into the classes in any way. If you want to gain the features of a different class, it just involves writing into your story how you go about that. If you take a look at the character sheet, instead of being covered with tons of stats, you only have 2, Exploration and Combat. The Armed starts with a rating of 3 in Exploration and a 4 in Combat. I'll also pick a Calling and a Nature, which can be determined randomly through some tables, or I could create my own. Lastly, I'll pick a weapon, and here's another example of how this game is focused on narrative over mechanics. There are no weapon stats in Colossal. You pick whatever weapon you want, and we'll simply describe how you use that weapon in combat. Whether you use a dagger or a battle axe, mechanically there is no difference. And that's it, character creation done. Let's go exploring. Colossal takes place in a series of exploration phases that might also include one or more combat phases. To begin an exploration phase, draw a number of cards equal to your exploration score. I got a 6 of clubs, an ace of spades, and a queen of hearts. Looking at the exploration tables, I can see that I got caught in a trap, find a large treasure on an altar, and encounter a medium-sized rook. It is now up to me to interpret those prompts into a story. It's worth noting here that there are custom encounter tables for different areas of the Colossal. With these prompts, I might say that after leaving my home village for the first time to explore the mysteries of the Colossal, I come upon a strange stone altar with an ancient artifact lying on top of it. I cautiously approach, but no one seems to be around, so I pick up the artifact to inspect it. As soon as I do, the ground shakes beneath me. Instead of being what I thought it was, the altar is just part of a buried rook that rises from the earth to attack. At this point, I can decide whether to fight the rook or not. Since my previous card said that I get caught in the trap, I will say that I can't escape and have to fight it. To do so, I'll create a rook by drawing 4 cards and consulting the appropriate tables, and then combat begins. I will draw a number of cards equal to my combat score of 4 and place them face up. A medium-sized rook has a combat score of 3. However, I only draw these cards one at a time. I must then use my combat cards to counter my enemy's card. If my card is higher than the rook's, I gain a success. If the rook's card is higher, I take a wound. If I beat the majority of the rook's attacks, then I win. Once combat is over, I gain any rewards and reduce my exploration or combat rating by the number of wounds received. However, since one of the rewards for defeating a rook is that I can improve one of my ratings by 1, I will just cancel the effect of my wound. If I cannot beat the majority of the rook's attacks, then I lose, which might not mean that I die, but simply that I keep any wounds received and don't gain the combat reward. Your scores can be improved over the course of the game through a number of different means, although they generally don't go above 5. If one of your scores is ever reduced to 0, then your character dies. After I finish journaling the encounter, I can draw a new set of cards to begin the next exploration phase, and the game continues. This is just a brief example of how gameplay works. There are some additional rules, but hopefully that shows how mechanically light this game is. It is really all about the story you write, not about stats on a character sheet. So now that you know a bit about how the game works, what do I like about Colossal? The first and foremost element of this game that drew me in is the world. There is something really exciting and interesting about exploring a castle of this scale. I've spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out exactly why this is so compelling to me. I think the reason is that exploring the Colossal feels like a distillation of what I find compelling about fantasy in general. I've always loved fantasy stories, and I think a huge part of that is that adventure is always around the corner. There is always some mountain peak, ruined fortress, or forbidding forest in the distance that hints at more stories. In Colossal, those hints are even more present, because at any time you might catch a glimpse of the rafters high above you, or a waterfall that drops a dizzying distance to the room below you, or any number of elements that suggest the impossible scale of this world. There is always an adventure hook within sight while exploring the Colossal. And speaking of adventure, rooks make terrific enemies. I just love the idea of them. This game also works really well as an introduction into RPGs, and solo RPGs specifically. By stripping away hundreds of pages of rules, it allows new players to focus on creating stories first. If the analytics from this channel are anything to go by, there's a good chance a lot of you, like me, are fathers of young kids. I've been playing through this with my 5-year-old, and while he's too young to play this alone, he is absolutely having a blast doing it together.
Is it kind of like D&D?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But except it has cards. I like that one with the robot arm.
Yeah.
Oh. I would not think a rook would be like that. Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Look at those, Tugar. Those are so scary. I had no idea you could actually go in a real rook that is moving. What is that? That's so cool. Oh my goodness, a defeated rook. It's a crab.
Having everything be based off randomly drawn prompts makes it much easier for me to run for him as well. Instead of having to make everything up from scratch, I am able to read him the prompts, and then he can help decide where the story goes. Another section of people I think Colossal would be a good option for is creative writers. This game provides such a terrific world to build off of and plenty of mysteries to develop that you could easily write some really fun stories using this system. For some, I can definitely see the lack of hard mechanics being a drawback, and to be honest, I do look for more gameplay options than are in this system. I really enjoy the process of character creation and having all sorts of abilities and specs to choose from and interesting combat options to deploy. However, that is not the kind of game Colossal is trying to be. For being a narrative-focused journaling RPG, Colossal has plenty to offer, including a world that continues to expand with subsequent books. Speaking of which, I haven't read all the books, but I have gone through the Roomlands expansion, which adds more room types, classes, co-op rules, and an adventure to play through. It's also worth downloading the free rules reference sheet from the game's website. It includes the tables for exploration and combat in one place, as well as an oracle system. You can also get custom journaling sheets that are really nice. I quite like the map system, where you can draw however detailed of a map you want, and then include page numbers to link the current map to other areas you explore. It's really simple and just really nice. Something I would love to be added to this game is more tables for rook creation. Every rook is supposed to look unique, so I would love some tables for inspiration there. Lastly, something that is great about RPGs, and solo RPGs especially, is that if there are rules you don't like, you can just make up your own. For example, I found I don't love the way the scores of exploration and combat work. When battling rooks, you really need to have a high combat score, but you never need a high exploration score, so it makes sense to want a character that is strong in combat. However, if you have a low exploration score, it just means that you get less prompts for creating your story. Instead, I like to always draw 5 exploration cards, and then I can redraw a number of cards equal to my exploration score, and replace previous cards. This means I always have lots of prompts to work with, and helps to represent how good my character is at avoiding dangers or finding what he's looking for. Other than that though, Colossal is a nice, cozy, pick-up-and-play RPG with one of the most interesting worlds I have seen. If you would like to learn more about Colossal, you can watch an interview I recorded with the creator. As well, Nick has a video that goes into more detail about how the game is played. I'll link both those videos below. That's basically all for now. If you have played Colossal, please share your experiences below. What do you like about it, and what kind of adventures have you gone on? Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.